Welcome back. We start now with some disturbing developments out of the Sahel region. Mali-based militant group JNIM has pledged allegiance to ISIL. Now, this means a resurgence of the group in the Sahel region. JNIM claimed responsibility for Friday's attack in Burkina Faso, where at least 16 people were killed. The group targeted the French embassy and the army headquarters in the capital, Ouagadougou. The group has also released a gruesome video which purportedly shows its fighters slaughtering American soldiers in Niger. Well, let's get you more now on that story. I'm joined live from Washington by our correspondent, Daniel Reinches. Daniel, it certainly does look like another front has opened in the fight against ISIL, this time in the Sahel region. How concerned should we be?
Well, these nations traditionally have not had an awful lot of control of their peripheries and their borders. And so that's given space to these criminal groups that have also become radicalized. And what we've seen recently are Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State groups really starting to realize that they can get these groups together, form alliances. And I think that ability to sort of join them up becomes a much more potent threat moving forward. And if you add to that the fact that we have this growing problem with economic disparities, with a burgeoning youth which is open to radicalization, and then we have the fuel of illicit arms trade, illicit drugs trade, human trafficking, the trafficking of gold and other minerals. You've got a very potent threat in front of you.
And we, of course, have been hearing that JNIM has released a disturbing video that supposedly shows the killing of American soldiers in Niger. And we've obviously taken the decision not to show this video due to the disturbing content. But as far as you know, Daniel, has it been verified?
I reached out to the US military about this, and they've released a statement saying that they are aware of the alleged photos and IS propaganda video from October the 4th of last year, the terrorist attack in Niger, they call it. The release of these materials, they say, demonstrates the depravity of the enemy we are fighting, and we encourage the news media to deny ISIS a propaganda success by not purchasing, showing, or bringing undue attention to these images. As they say, it re-victimizes the affected families, amplifies IS atrocities, and aids in their recruitment. So I think that's a fairly comprehensive dealing with that video, and the decision not to show that video, I think, is a sound one.
Of course, as we know, Europe has been pumping a lot of money into the Sahel for security. Do you think there's an appetite in Washington for similar contributions of funding? I mean, can we read anything at all into Rex Tillerson's trip to Africa this week, which does include Chad?
I think that definitely the fact that Rex Tillerson is going to Chad demonstrates that this region is a key priority, and that there is mindfulness, at least at some levels of the US government, of the nature of this threat moving forward and the need to deal with it. I don't think the question is about resources in terms of financial resources that Washington is willing to bring, so much as overarching strategy. So a lot of experts in the region, including one I spoke to today, Dr. Suleiman Baldo of the Enough Project, who's a very well-respected regional expert, tells me this. You can see that the US and the French are providing military resources. They're providing expertise, training expertise, on-the-ground support to national government's military. They also provide aerial surveillance and, on occasion, strike from the air as well at leadership, as we've seen. But he's saying that that strategy is simply not enough, that the US, the French and others need to consider a much more comprehensive strategy that addresses some of the economic and social grievances, deals with governance in these countries, and deals with ways in which they can curb some of this very, very strong criminal activity that is fueling the financial aspect of these relationships in that Sahel region. So there's a lot more to be done. I am told by individuals that understand the US government as it currently stands that there are many mid-range officials who really understand that more needs to be done in terms of an overarching strategy. But there still is a question mark here in Washington about whether the higher echelons of leadership are ready to sign on and commit to a long-term strategy.
We'll hope to see if there's any answers on that as Rex Tillerson travels through Africa. Thanks very much, Daniel Reinches, for that update.